I've got a hot coffee today. No canned coffee. No sponsorship. No Nescafe today. Instead, Yvonne's just made me a little coffee. And Yvonne's not joining today. Sweden, sorry, Donald, Sweden. It's back to just me, so you're going to have to put up with my ugly mush today. But it's just gone 5 o'clock in the UK. In the UK. It's not the UK, John. You've started so well. It's just gone 5 o'clock here in Malaysia. And it's a wet day today. Pretty heavy rain. We're just going to go for some dinner after we've had this, after I've done this live stream. So last week I kicked off, right? Started talking a little bit about the proposed changes of censorship on YouTube for small creators. And didn't that kick off, eh? That turned into a whole massive thing. I think pretty much every creator that I watched, the Black Belt Barrister and all the kind of big prominent channels, well, independent prominent channels, the Meyer Tussies, the Lotus Eater podcast, everybody had something to say about the YouTube censorship of last week, thanks to the UK's tyrannical government, which is just the latest tyrannical government. They're all the same, aren't they? Hot coffees. But I covered it last Saturday. It opened and I was talking a little bit about it, and I wasn't expecting it to be such a big deal as it was. Turned out it was massive. Everybody's been banging on about it. Sponsorship and all sorts, left, right and centre. Sponsorship. What am I talking about? State censorship. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, it's a new week. It's been a busy week this week. We've got an Aussie mate who's here just now, Jesse. I thought he was flying in from Australia the way he was talking. Last Sunday he arrived, Saturday now, last Sunday. I thought he was flying in from Australia last Sunday. He was flying in from Bali. Been staying with a couple of mates out there, and we went for a roast beef dinner. You might have saw the video. I could smash that dinner now. It was very, very, very good. Been thinking about it all week. It was very enjoyable. It was a good little spot. A couple of British owners and Yorkshire pudding. See, when I cut into the Yorkshire pudding and the crisp that went on it. Oh, yeah. Somebody commented on that video actually about the crisp. Tell you what else has happened this week. I'll touch on. We had our medical. Yvonne and I went for our physical MOT, if you like. I'm going to make a video in a couple of days about that. I probably said that last week, and I'll probably say that next week as well. But Yvonne and I went to the hospital. We were pretty nervous about all of that, and we spent an entire day being poked and prodded and things put in your ear and eye tests and everything else. And yeah, that's the first time I've ever had anything like that done before. Was to go through a hospital and have all of those checks. So we've done that. I got my pack. You get a pack at the end of it all. Yvonne got her pack. I've had all of my test results, and Yvonne's just waiting on one that takes a little bit longer for the women. I was going to say for the old women, not old in age. I just turn the phrase. You know what I mean? And then we've been out for, went out on the, like kind of, was that Wednesday? A little bit on the piss, something I haven't done in ages. I don't really normally drink. But I'm not religious about drinking. Occasionally, if the fancy takes us, we will have something. So we had a couple of ciders and a pizza and all sorts. That was the day after we had the medical. So it felt warranted. It felt welcomed. I enjoyed going out into the town. And then what else has happened? I was going to get up this morning to watch the England game because, see on Sky Sports, right? Sky Sports says, oh, tomorrow is the game. and then it keeps saying tomorrow, and it doesn't adjust for the time. So you can see that there, right? It says there 5 o'clock. It said that yesterday, and then it still said the same thing today. So I was going to get up this morning and do the game 5 a.m. and then I thought, I'm not going to bother. When I woke up this morning, I thought I'll have a little look and see who's won. I couldn't really care a jot either way, by the way. And then I saw that the game's tomorrow. So I'll maybe wake up tomorrow. I'll maybe go to bed early tonight, wake up tomorrow, watch the game. And then when the game finishes, the UFC is going to be on as well. So Conor McGregor's return, fighting. And I think he might get beat because I think he's been out of the ring far too long. But I might sit and watch that tomorrow. So there's been a couple of things happening. Coffee. And the stock market went pretty well this week. So I've made a couple of quid this week, which is good. So what's been going on with everybody that's in here? Let's have a little look. Good morning, Donald. How are you doing, mate? Good afternoon from Singapore. How's it going, Simon? What's the weather like down in Singapore? What's the time difference with Singapore? Is it just the same as Malaysia? Is it 5 o'clock for you as well? Yvonne and I keep meaning we need to go and visit Singapore. We just haven't had it on the agenda yet, but we definitely will. I'll tell you one thing, Simon. Every time we arrive back here in Malaysia, we book a bus from Malaysia to Singapore as our kind of exit strategy. And then once we get through customs, we cancel the bus because it's just the kind of easiest way to make sure you've got an onward journey already booked rather than having to pick a flight or something, because you never know what might happen with all of that. So good morning to all of the people in the UK. Good afternoon and good evening to anybody else that's watching from around the world. So Jesse, my mate Jesse, he's gone into Kuala Lumpur city. He's staying at an Airbnb for a couple of days. He went to some like club night last night. He's 40. He's 40. I'm 48. And he was like, do you want to go to this club night? And I was like, no, I don't, mate. Like, I'm a year and a half away from being 50. Why would I want to go to a club night? Anyway, so he went to a club night last night. He's a single guy. He's 40. He's out meeting people and doing all that social stuff that Yvonne and I don't like doing. Like, we don't need new pals. I'm not trying to make new pals. I just like we like our own company. So he's gone, he was staying in this apartment block with us for a couple of days. And now he's gone into the city centre for the weekend. And then I think he's coming back here Monday. And then we're going to go and do a couple of things next week before he leaves and we leave. And then we'll see what's going on after all of that. So, hello, Vicky. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Ho, John. You calling me a ho? Or addressing me as Santa? Or misspelling? Or just ho is a new introduction that I'm not down with the kids, so. Anyway, good morning. Nice to see you. I hope you're well. Sunny Manchester. So is the UK like cooked just now? Has the UK got a little hot spell going on? A wee hot flush? That's what Yvonne has all the time just now. A wee hot flush from time to time. I had a couple of them when I was in seeing the doctor this week when I was going through that test. I'll tell you, I was getting the old bloods taken at one point. And then I was going for a fitness test and I thought I was going to pass out because I'm a bit of a big girl's blouse when it comes to that kind of stuff, particularly the old getting the bloods taken. I mean, for a guy that's like covered in tattoos, right, you think I'd be a bit more familiar when it comes to the old jabs and stuff. But nope, I'm a bit of a big girl's blouse when it comes to the old bloods getting taken. So I went and got the bloods taken and then they were like, oh, you're going to do your fitness test now? And they had me on a treadmill. I thought I was going to pass out, but I didn't. That's a story for another day. Shameless. What about proposes changes to bringing capital gains to income tax levels? I've no idea what that means. If it's in reference to taxing your interest in your ISA account, yes, I'm aware. 22%, I believe. Shocking. Just another one of those things that a government doesn't want you to have any money, right? How dare you save up some cash and maybe look after your family? You should be giving that money to lesser people who might need a little bit of help. Stop trying to look after yourself and do the right thing by your family. Hello, Archie. How's it going, mate? Thanks for joining us. Good morning to you too. And On Fire NZ. Hello, how you doing? Hot coffee here too. Nice. It was a real choice. I've got a can in the fridge, but it's the crappy one I bought the other week there that I haven't got round to finishing the last can, and it's just an Americano. No vanilla, no cream, no sugar, and it'd draw your jaws in. Good Scottish phrase for you there. Stop thinking you're old, for F's sake. Wait until you hit 70. I think once you get above 21, you just think you're old. I mean, if I was to put my mental age, if I was to take an estimate and say what mental age I think I am, I'd probably say it's about 15. I don't think I've ever truly grown up. I also think that's an ADHD thing where, like, you just think you're mentally younger than you really are. But body-wise, I'll tell you, I was hitting a real stretch there where I was like getting into the gym. I was getting there every day, right? And then on Tuesday, we had to get up really early to go for the medical, right? We had to be there for 8:30. It's about a 30-minute taxi ride away. So Yvonne and I were up at, like, I don't know, 7, which is early for us, right? I mean, I'm retired. Why am I getting up at like 7 o'clock in the morning? But we had to get up early and we got the taxi there. And then see the whole mental processing of the day, right? All the tests and the blood, and you had to fast beforehand. And then you got a lunch, and then a wee coffee and do the fitness test and all that. I was knackered at the end of it. And we came back to the room and we had a kind of early night. And then on the Wednesday, we went out into the town with Jessie and had a couple of ciders. I mean, nothing mental, right? Like 2 ciders and 2 margaritas that they put in a pint tumbler. And see, on Thursday, when I woke up, I was absolutely destroyed. And I reminded myself why I generally don't drink. I had all the aches and pains in my wrists and my ankles, and I was knackered. So I didn't go to the gym on Thursday. I didn't go to the gym on Friday. I haven't gone to the gym today. It's had like 2 ciders and 2 margaritas. It's had a 3-day hangover out the back of it. And I hate that kind of stuff. Like that starts to bug me. So, like, Jesse's away into the city today and he was like, oh, come and hang out with us and we'll go for a beer or something. And I was like, no. Last night he was going to a club. Today he wants to go for a beer. I'm like, no. And then he said to me, why don't you come into the town and we'll go watch the UFC in a bar? He found a bar that's showing it tomorrow. And I was like, mate, I'm going to watch that in my bed. I appreciate you've came from Bali, but I mean, I'm an old man and he's a young old man. He's going to a club in there. A club. He's 40. A club. So, yeah. What else is going on? Koala bear. I had the same exit strategy for 5 years in KL after my children went to uni and I'd run out of visa option. The imaginary bus to Singapore. The bus to Singapore is a great tip. We've got a neighbour, Daryl Solos, Scottish guy from Edinburgh, makes videos. He's been out here for a couple of years. It was him over a coffee and was asking us, oh, where are you travelling to next? And when Yvonne and I first came here, the first 3 months we spent here, we'd already booked to go to Thailand. And then I fell ill and I ended up in hospital, so we couldn't leave on time. which then meant I had to move that flight, and it cost like, I don't know, it's like 150 quid or something to move it. Not crazy, but expensive. And I was telling Daryl, I've booked my onward flight and I've had to move it. And he was like, oh, just book the bus to Singapore. And I was like, what? And I didn't realise that was a thing. And normally, I think it's about 100 ringgit, which is like, what's that, £17 or something. And as long as you cancel it 2 days or 3 days before the bus departs, you get like 80% of the money back. So that's a win-win, that option. That's a good little cheat code that we follow by. And we're going to Spain for August, and we haven't booked our onward travel yet. Somebody was saying to me, I'll just book the coach to Portugal. So I'm not quite sure if that's a thing. I need to look into that. We've booked our travel from Malaysia to Turkey. I'm going to do the old turkey teeth and get the hair done on my 24-hour stop. You'll see me looking immensely different when that's over. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. And then we're going to fly into Spain, but we haven't booked our travel back out of Spain yet. And somebody said to us, just book the bus to Portugal. So we might do that if we can figure all that out. Sometimes I can't book all of these things. Like, I need time to think. I need time to think about all of this. It's too many steps, right? Book the accommodation, book the flight, check visas. Like, you need to be a good planner when you're doing all this country hopping stuff. Vicky, crazy politics in the UK today. Man versus bin hysteria. Without kind of going into all of the detail of all of this, right? Nigel Farage should pull out of the Clacton by-election and just let Binface win it, and let then Binface go to Parliament and be an MP. I also heard that Binface is actually a BBC comedy writer now that he's been unveiled, some guy called John. He used to write the thick of it. So it's a bit weird that the BBC had Binface on to do an interview. Have they interviewed Rupert Lowe yet? Anyway, I digress. This isn't a politics channel, just observational. Just observational. Technique. Hello, John. Technique. I'm going to have to say this, mate. I find it super annoying when people call me Jon, because my name is in the bottom. It's there in the channel. Like, see if I take that away. It's there. It's right there, right? And I know it's like you're typing on a phone or something and you want to send me a message. But see if you miss one letter of my name out, it just frustrates me. Like, I mean, my mum and dad spent ages coming up with a 4-letter name. And the funny thing was, right, my dad's called John. My brother's middle name is John. My grandfather was John. So there wasn't a lot of brains going on in the family when they were thinking up names, right? They were just basically rolling the dice. My sister's name is Janice, so they couldn't even get by the J, right? They couldn't even get by the J for her. They were like, well, we can't call her John, so what are we going to go with? And my mum's name's Jan. So, I mean, there's not a lot of brain cells going on. But see, to dilute it down to just 3 letters from the 4 letters feels like a bit of a piss take. But anyway, I'll read your question. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do the same thing, and what I'll do is I'll only read certain words out of the statement. In the same vein as you removing letters from my name. High, short, moment, apart, fresh, friends. Yeah, I've no idea what you're saying, mate. Anyway, moving on. Good morning, Hiccup. How are we doing? Nice to see you. Good afternoon to you. I apologise. I'm still thinking about that roast beef dinner from last week, honestly. We're going to go out and have some Thai food once I've finished this call. I'm trying to be good, and I'm trying to cut back a little bit on the rice, because the wheel, see going to that medical thing on Tuesday, right? Hearing test, blood test, piss test, kidneys, liver, x-rays, all of that got done. After that, the wheels just came off, out boozing, had pizzas, had onion rings, had waffles with ice cream. Like, the wheels came off, and I haven't quite recovered from that. So I need to dial myself back in. So I'm going to go and try and have a nice healthy dinner afterwards. Good morning, Victoria. How you doing? Nice to see you. I hope you're keeping well. Turning 30 was a big milestone. I can remember a mate of mine, right? A pal, and I was actually telling this to Jesse the other night, because he is 40 and he forgets that Yvonne and I are 48. So when he's asking us to go to clubs, he's mentally thinking about us being the same age. And 40 is unacceptable to be going to clubs. It wasn't when Yvonne and I were 40 and going to clubs, but now that I look back on it, it's excessive. But I was saying to Jesse, I remember a mate saying to me, see, when you hit 40, like, that's the last moment that you feel normal. After that, things just start going wrong all the time. And I was telling Jesse, like, I can't feel two fingers just randomly. These two here, I just can't feel them. Like, they go numb at times, like circulation. I get pains in my wrists. They did a hearing test on me, right? And the woman was like, the doctor said to me, do you work in a loud environment? What do you do? And I was like, I used to be a DJ. And she was like, yeah, that shows up in your results. It's totally, I play on it slightly, right? Because then it means when Yvonne's talking to me, I'm like, what was that, love? Leg cramp. Yeah, can relate. Sometimes don't feel my toes. I mean, those are bad signs, aren't they? You have missed absolutely nada. Just coffee, a little bit of chat about this week. Started off by talking about last week's censorship. See, I need to get the turkey teeth done now, and then I'll be able to say censorship. But I haven't been to the gym this week properly. So health screening, I'm going to make a video this week, I promise. Tomorrow, the video for the channel is the June numbers. I finally managed to sit down and go through all of my expenditure for June and make the video talking about accommodation, eating out, travel, all of that stuff in a video that goes live tomorrow. And then later in the week, and I still need to make the tax video because I've had a conclusion to all of that. That's all done. And I also need to make a video. What else is there? So there's the health, tax, June's tomorrow. June's cost of living is tomorrow. We might go on a big day out on Tuesday and go stay somewhere else that we haven't been yet. That would be a good video. So we'll get that done as well. Nigel Farce Farage. Listen, the whole thing is a farce. I mean, it's funny how when one by-election happens, that's important, but then another by-election happens and it's just a farce. It's all bullshit. When I think, do you know, Yvonne and I loved Lost. Do you think Hurley's still massive? I mean, that guy was on the island for years and never lost a pound in weight. He's the only big guy who's been on a desert island and never shifted any weight before, was Hurley. But we loved Lost, watched all of it. I'll tell you, bit of a side tangent here, right? We've watched a couple of movies the last couple of nights. Last night we watched the Backrooms movie, and it was pretty good. Quite enjoyed it. Decent watch, well filmed, and it was like a 20-year-old kid that made the whole thing on like a shoestring budget. It works really well. We used a bit of AI for some of the shots, but I really liked it. If you kind of like, you know, horror movies, it's not up there in terms of the scare factor, but it was good. And the night before, we watched a film called Project Hail Mary, which was Ryan Gosling. Now, I didn't know that film was a kid's film when I started watching it, but it was. And it was a bit cheesy, but it was all right. it was all right. Yvonne and I were laughing at it. And then yesterday we went for coffee in a coffee shop nearby where we are now. And they actually had the thing that was called Rocky. I've only just twigged why it was called Rocky. Oh, that's a moment there, right? That's when you know your mental capacity is frazzled. I've just realised why the stone thing and the thing why he came up with Rocky. That's just dawned on me. So we watched Project Hail Mary, which was Ryan Gosling's film. Ah, man. Sometimes things take a wee bit of time to land on me. I can't be great at everything. That's what happens when you go out midweek and you have a couple of ciders. You destroy brain cells to the point where you can't even figure out basic stuff like that. Craig, how's it going? Craig, how's it going, mate? Where are you at with the whole move to Florida? Is that in action now? Is that going on? Windy afternoon in Vietnam, no rain for a few days. I've been really surprised by how different the weather has been from like Penang at the beach, where we thought when we were going there, it was going to be like windy because you're at the beach and it would be a nice cooling breeze, but actually it was way hotter than it is in the city. And now that we're back in the city, it's been raining quite a bit. So it's been nice to be in the cool temperature. But Yvonne and I don't really have clothes for when it rains. We don't really have, beyond Metallica and Deftones t-shirts, I don't really have a lot of clothes, but I don't have like waterproof jackets. So when we do go to Vietnam, which I think is going to be early next year now, we need to have a think about what the weather is going to be at that point. Think about the old suitcases again. Oh, hello, Andy, mate. How are you getting on? Keep meaning to go for an eye test. Well, obviously I've been and got the glasses, had my eye test done. Yvonne has been and bought new glasses. Listen, see to all the men in here who have wives, right, who have partners, they can never see anything go past them, can they? Like, you know, when you're like, oh, my eyes are going, I'm going to get a pair of glasses. You get a pair of glasses, then they're like, I need a pair of glasses. Well, Yvonne's been wearing glasses for 17 years. And now, of course, that we're back here in Malaysia, she's like, I need glasses. So we had to go and buy her a pair of glasses last week. They're not here yet. Of course, you know, when it comes to the whole prescription thing, if you are, you know, if you're Tenerife, she's 11erife. So whereas I was short-sighted, she's short-sighted, long-sighted, middle-sighted, you know, she's had to get the super expensive ones. So whereas my beautiful custom French Guy La Roche or whatever they were called was like 140 quid or something, not Yvonne's glasses. No. Like 350 quid for Yvonne's glasses. At one point she was trying on frames. Try to remember the name of the brand. And they were like 1,000 ringgit. I was like, what? Well, you're not getting them. So she didn't get them. But she did try on a lot of pair of glasses. Now, if you want to know how many pairs of glasses she tried on this many pairs of glasses. Because she was like, take my photo. And we were using AI to scan her face and see what fitted and what was good and what colours and everything else. So she's got a new pair of glasses ordered. Trifocal? Multifocal. Expensive. So this month's budget, the July budget, if you are a couple and you're thinking about traveling long term and you want to do it cheap, split up, travel separately. It's the best way to do it, everybody. Hello, Black Circle. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. Have you been watching Daryl's videos? We've been following along. I had a coffee with him the other day. Long overdue an eye test. Well, I had never had one until we went to Bali. And now obviously got these glasses. I need them for when I get tired. My eyes get tired late at night. They have made such a difference. I won't lie. But I had my eyes tested when we did the medical on Tuesday, and they confirmed that I'm colourblind, which I already knew. I knew that since I was a child. My dad was very colourblind, to the point where, see, if you played snooker with him, he couldn't tell what the pink and the brown were. So it was a great way as a child to cheat in the game, where you'd be like, it's that one over there, Dad. And then he'd have a go and you were like, 4 points to me. He couldn't see the brown, couldn't see the pink. And I am colourblind. When you do that test, you know, that circular test, there are certain colours that I can't see. Not all of them, but certain colours I can't see. So I'll never be in the army. I'll never be a pilot. But I've had the full body scan. So that's good. And yes, get the hearing test done. They were like, loud environment. You work in a loud environment? What do you do, John? That's what the doctor asked me. I was like, I used to be a DJ. She was like, comes through in the test. See the hearing test, you sit in a room, you get a little button, right? And then you play a sound and then you press the button. Yvonne just worked out that it was going doo, 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 doo. So she was just pressing the button. So we've no idea whether she's deaf or not. It's just that she's good at identifying patterns. Yes, still in KL. Spain for August. Got an eye test next week for diabetes. Yeah, I had the old diabetes test as well. Fortunately, no issue with the diabetes test. And yeah, the MOT thing was very good. I'll cover it in the video, so I don't want to give the whole game away, but it was a good experience. It was stressful on the run up to it, right? Because you're like, what if I'm knackered? What if there's something wrong with me? That's always what plays in your head, right? Especially when you're in your 40s and 50s and all that. You just think you're constantly knackered. Good morning, Franz. How you doing, mate? Late, no worries, all good. Plenty of time. So tomorrow's video is the June roundup of all of the costs. I'll tell you what else I did this week. Normally on a Wednesday, I do a live stream where it's like a monologue where I talk about something. In the last couple of weeks, I've covered my career. I've talked about selling all of our possessions. I've talked about the last like 15, 16 months I've been on the road, traveling, what that's been like, leaving the UK and all that. And this week, because we were out with Jesse on Wednesday, I recorded it later, but I just did it as audio only. And I posted it to Spotify. So it's on Spotify. It's called Second Wind. It's only like 20 minutes. But this week's podcast was about just the kind of other side of all of this, like post my dad dying, post the job, post leaving, what it's been like. Just a bit more of a reflection back on what I've recognised having gone through all of that process. Some of those topics are a little bit heavy, so this was more lighter. So it's on Spotify now. Thanks to everybody that's gone and listened. I think I'm just about to hit like 600 downloads on the Spotify and Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. You can get it. And then hopefully this week might go back to normal on the live streams of all of this. And I love these Saturday chats with you all because I feel like we get to hang out on a Saturday and have a little coffee and stuff. This is a very different energy when I do these. Fry up eggs, baked beans, bacon. Oh. See, we love bacon, right? But bacon's one of those funny things. It needs to be done right. Like, see if it's kind of a bit pinkish and it's got loads of fat on it. I'm not into that. I've always really liked... Yvonne and I went to Jamaica in Cancun years ago on holiday, and the bacon there used to be like, it was like really well done, and it would be like streaky bacon, and it would curl up and see that with like a little bit of a bit of like maple syrup on it. Maple syrup with bacon with a pancake. Oh, no wonder I was fat. Honestly, no wonder I was fat. But that sounds like a good breakfast you've got going on there, Franz. Good for you, mate. Started watching Resident Alien. Resident Alien? That sounds like a video game and a movie smashed together. I think you'd enjoy it. All right, I'll have a little look out for that. I think the next film I plan on watching is called Obsession. It's also one that's been made by like a YouTuber or something. It's been really well rated. So a bit of a kind of horror film as well, I think. I do like a bit of a scary movie. Yvonne's not so much of a fan, but I grew up on all of that. Craig, my dad said before he died, when you make 50, everything goes downhill. This is it. I mean, I think most of my audience in here, right, are in this kind of age brackets, the 40s, 50s, 60s. I think we can all relate in some way to just feeling a bit knackered. But also it's mental. You know, it's all about just the right mentality of getting up and getting on with things. That's the important bit. You've been dry season. Well, yeah, so Yvonne's been kind of paying attention to where we can go. And we were thinking about maybe going to Bali first and then going to Vietnam from there for next year. So that we're just making sure we're not landing somewhere in the middle of a rainy season, because I don't fancy that. So we'll keep an eye on it. Politicians are not all the same. It's unfair of those MPs who every now and then stand up for individual freedoms. Yeah, I guess. Poor Yvonne, you can see clearly now. She's got glasses. She's just decided she wants a new set. She needs this multifocal thing now, so we'll see how that's going on. Mick Shanks, hope you're doing well. I am, mate. Yvonne's well as well. We're both well. Thanks very much for asking. And the same to all of you. I hope everybody here is looking after themselves and well. Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, we both send our regards. In fact, I mean, thanks everybody for following the channel, watching the videos. YouTube is a really weird place just now. Between the kind of topics of the censorship and the AI stuff, views are like all over the place, and you know, channels like up and down like this, and my own channel's been like that, and I watch other people talking about the same. So I'm very grateful that people follow along with all of this and watch our videos and get involved and come and say hello here. So thanks to you all. I really appreciate it. Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you doing? How's things? How's the, you've got one dog, right? How's the dog? How's the walks? Still getting the 10 to 15K in? I must admit my steps have dropped since we got back here. I haven't maintained them as much, but I've been doing a little bit more in the gym. So I'm okay with the kind of swing, but I am missing my regular walks just now. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, I've seen the news about what's happened in the last couple of days with other politicians and the stories that's coming out with all of that. Anne-Marie, I wear varifocals, cost me over 300 quid. Yeah, we did a little check. I think they were, can you remember how much it was? 200 and something. I'm exaggerating slightly over the 300 quid. I think it was like 280 or something on the price check. She went to a store nearby in the mall where we're staying just now. And they said 2 weeks. So it might be that we leave and then come back and collect them. We're going to keep an eye. But she'll get them and they look good. Very different to the glasses that she wears now. And yeah, I've seen all the news in the last couple of days. And on this topic, yes, I have. I've seen the coverage on it as well. I watched it the morning that it came out. I watched the full 2 hours. And I've watched some of the other commentators talking a lot about various sections of the podcast. Fascinating. Hello, Beth. How you doing? I'm going self-employed. Self-employment job with a company that sells a broadband, mobile, and energy package. Cool. Is that like are you doing office sales? Or are you doing marketing for them? Are you doing door-to-door stuff with them? What does the job look like? What do you do with it all? You have shaved your head again. I have since yesterday, mate. Yes, I have. I know you saw the longer do that I showed you yesterday. That was actually the turkey teeth place that were sending me a little image of what I'll look like in 6 months' time when it grows in. Once I've been to Turkey, had the teeth and the hair done, that was a little image of what that might look like. But hello, mate. How are you? I hope you're well. How's the packing going with the house? Are you happy that you didn't hire a company to do the work for you? Or is that now hindsight 2020 and all that? Can't wait to get on varifocals. I actually needed varifocals, but they told me when I was getting the eye test done that it would be too much to deal with as my first pair of glasses. Because I am both long-sighted and short-sighted. Is that just blind? Is that what that is? But Yvonne, this is the first time she'll have varifocals. And they said to her, even though she's been wearing glasses 17 years, that it'll take a bit of time to get used to. So it's going to be fascinating when she gets them to see what that's like. I might be old, but thank God I can still differentiate between brown and pink. Especially in Vietnam, right? Especially in Vietnam. You never know what you're going to get there. That's a whole other conversation for a different time. Doing sausages in the slow cooker. I mean, is that not like a 4-hour job when it could just be 10 minutes? Do you mean air fryer, Vicky? Yvonne's questioning whether it says air fryer or slow cooker. That's why she needs varifocals. It says slow cooker. Do sausages in the air fryer. Yep, see, that's what I'm saying. I love it when people come in and then verify that the older you get, the more knackered you're going to feel. I mean, yeah, I can but only imagine. Most of the bacon I've tried in Asia has been a bit weird. I agree. The supermarket here, even though it's like the non-halal section, does have bacon, but it looks a bit off. I don't mean off. I just mean doesn't look like it's kind of the bacon I'd like. Yvonne ordered bacon when we were in that house stay, and we were in Penang, and she made bacon for us, and it was very good. It was a nice little reminder of what we've missed. Any plans to come to New Zealand? Maybe next year. We've talked with Jesse being here from Australia. We were talking to him about Australia, and we've got pals in Australia. So if we did Australia, we'd probably do New Zealand as well. But it's just the cost of living, right? It's just the cost of living. When you can hire an apartment here for a month for like 200, 300 quid, you know, I worry that if we went to New Zealand, we're going to blow budgets like, you know, completely out the water. That's the bit that's always in my mind, which is why we float around kind of Bali and Thailand and all these places. Yep, one dog. I've kept my steps up. Good on you. It's definitely, you know, they're very rewarding. We had a great time with Lucy and Teddy. And I enjoy getting the steps in, but I was also knackered. And we've gone from, you know, we were getting up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. One of the dogs basically like right here at your face, waiting to wake you up in the morning, like, you know, on your chest and all that, like get up, take me for a walk. And now Jesse's been getting up and going to the gym at like 9 in the morning, and we're not getting up till like, I mean, I'm awake from like 9:30, 10 o'clock, but I don't get out of my bed till like 11. No, I'm not in that much of a rush to do things. And also I kind of stay up a little bit late because I'm watching the stock market during the week a little bit, you know, keeping an eye, writing the odd options contract. I wrote a contract the other night for Rocket Lab at like $60, picked up about $600 in premium, just one contract to expire in November. So I kind of, I keep a little eye here and there when the market's moving around. I watch an hour or two of it, keep an eye, watch a bit of TV, and then sleep in a little bit later the next day, because that's kind of the routine just now. But when we're on that house sit, you're awake at like 7, so you go to bed a little bit earlier, and then I miss the market. So it's the ebb and flow of all of that. Not started packing yet. Going to do it in a week before we go. Love a challenge, mate. You do, mate. You do love a challenge. I mean, in fairness, the prices that you told me for the packing and all that was astronomical, but you do also live in London, so this is what you get, mate. This is what you get. When you move up north, things will be a bit easier. Things will be normal priced. Are you introverted or X? I am an introverted extrovert, I think would be the best way to summarize that. I can be extroverted when I need to, but I'm also introverted. What is there? I read somewhere recently that there's a name for that now. I think Matthew McConaughey coined a name for it recently, but I can't remember what that is. Franz, I'm trying so hard to be made redundant. Yeah, I know that feeling. And that was me in my last year. So that I can retire. How old are you, Franz, if you don't mind me asking? Where are you in the retirement window at this point? They say budget redundancy, but they have the money to pay. Yeah, I mean, this is it, right? Companies are always trying to just balance out getting rid of people, how much of the salary. Like when I was made redundant, it's because I was on quite a big salary. They wanted to try and trim the big salaries down. So that's why I was kind of picked out, me and a couple of the other guys, and then they kind of worked their way through. That's the problem when you're on a good salary, right? You're kind of always walking around with a bit of a target on your back when these decisions get made. And then at the same time, if you're not on a big salary, it can be harder to negotiate these kind of things. And also, if you go and ask, right, then you just kind of highlight to them that you don't really want to be there, which also can be a little bit difficult, because then you run the risk that the company's like, he's probably going to just leave anyway. So then they just ride it out and kind of make life a bit difficult, because they know that you might just call it quits and then it doesn't cost you any money. The whole redundancy thing is a real nightmare. When I was made redundant from British Gas, the company wanted me to stay, and I was in a pool against 3 other guys, and the other guys were like British Gas committed. They'd been in British Gas their whole lives. I'd only been there for 4.5 years, and I had been in big utilities before. I worked at Scottish Power before as well, and I didn't really like it. I wasn't really into the whole big business, because you're just really a number. So I was in a pool, 4 of us in a pool, and they gave you a window of when the decision would be made. And they'd said to me and the 3 other guys, if we receive any voluntary redundancies, if anybody comes forward and volunteers, then there's a high likelihood that they will be made redundant. But if you all volunteer, then we'll make the decision on who stays. So I contacted the other guys, and 2 of them wanted to go and 1 wanted to stay. And I knew that I wanted to go, so I stayed quiet the whole way through it until the deadline date. And I had lined up another job. I'd spoken to the company that I would end up going on to work with next. That's the one I got made redundant from. So I had a job lined up, but I spoke to one of the guys and he was like, oh, I want to stay. So I knew that he wasn't going to put forward his redundancy. He wasn't going to apply for it. And I waited until the very last day, and it was like 11 a.m. was the cutoff. And I submitted that I wanted to be made redundant like minutes before, which then meant when the window closed, they had one guy out of the 4 of us who said they wanted to stay. So they had to keep him. But the management team had told me behind the scenes, we want you. We don't want the 3 other guys. I feel bad for them. I didn't know them. I just kind of knew them around the business. I'd never worked with them before, so I didn't really owe them anything. They didn't owe me anything. But the management team had said, we want you to do this job. And I didn't want to stay and do the job. So I had to kind of play a bit of a tactical game. So he said he wanted to stay. I put forward my redundancy. The other 2 guys put forward their redundancy. It meant the 3 of us left under those conditions, and that guy stayed. And then I walked away with my payoff and walked straight into another job and then got made redundant from that job. That was how it worked out. But see, the whole strategizing of all of that at the time, it was a nightmare. So I wish you well with all of that, Franz. Very difficult games to play. Like I say, you don't want to end up, you say you want to go and then they're like, well, he's going to go anyway. So then they don't make you redundant because they know you're probably going to want to go. And then at the same time, they want volunteers. It's not a fun time, all of that. Not a fun time. Hello, Liam. How you doing, mate? I hope things are well in Edinburgh. We are well, thank you. Budget to blow your budget every now and then. Well, we kind of did that this week. Yvonne's new glasses, the medical tests. We went out on the batter on Wednesday, which is not kind of the things that we do. And it is expensive to drink here in Malaysia. So we've pushed the budget a little bit this month. But tomorrow, I'll share with you the budget video of June, kind of how that lined up. Even there, I was trying to save some money doing a house sitting. Yeah, you'll see that tomorrow. What else we got going on here? Never too late. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you back again. Busy morning. Look forward to the rerun later. No worries at all. You enjoy your Saturday. Have a coffee. Take it easy. And it is your own fault, mate. But, I mean, like, you've got 3 kids, mate. They are removals experts. What's the point of having kids if you're not going to get them to do any work around the house? Seems to me like you're the dad. It's you that needs to whip them into shape here. I don't mean literally, obviously, people watching this, but, you're the dad. Get them packing stuff up. Otherwise, left behind. I mean, you could do that old stunt where you just pull the car over and drop one of them off at the side of the motorway, right, and then drive away a little bit. I've had that done to me when I was a kid. John, my girlfriend is waiting for surgery for her cancer, so we're waiting to see what happens. I wish you all the best with that, mate. I really do. Keep me posted on it all. And best wishes and best regards to your other half. Checking out now. No worries, Archie. All the best, mate. Catch you later. Little Saturday hang out for a little while. So I'm going to try and watch the football and the UFC tomorrow if I can get up at 5 o'clock. I mean, I'm just telling you, right? I don't normally get up out of my bed till 11, and then tomorrow I'm going to try and wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be a challenge. I am 56 years old. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like you're in your 40s trying to retire, right? You're close enough. So I wish you all the best with the negotiation, mate. Omnivert, is that what it was? Is that what they called it? Extrovert, introvert is an omnivert? That rings a bell. Thank you, sorry, Case. I'm 56 years old and they want to expand and not make people redundant. I want redundancy. When the business is heading in the opposite direction from where you are mentally, right? That's a difficult one. The only other thing you can really do in that situation is the whole quiet quitting, where you just start doing other things whilst you're on the company's dime, if you know what I mean. It's quite difficult to no one was stepping off the hamster wheel. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, that's why I committed to doing YouTube and Patreon and newsletters. It's like, stay active, you stay busy whilst retirement. And I've talked about this before. My dad retired, became a photographer and became Airdrie football team's photographer. and did that for many more years before he kind of just, that ran its course, and then he felt like he wanted to kind of step back from it. But I don't think he quit that until he was like 76, maybe going into 77, before he stepped back from it. And he was still going to the games. He just didn't want to take photos at it. Ambiverts. I don't think I've heard of that. Omniverts, I think. Ambiverts, that's a new one on me. Does it mean the same? What else? Scrambled eggs. We're informed when almost sold his bed. Do you know, I can remember when Yvonne and I sold our bed on Facebook Marketplace. That was the very kind of last major thing we sold before we were like moving out. And then we had to kind of, I think we slept on a one of those like airbed things for a night, for just like one night. I think we got the timing pretty much bang on. But that would wake him up for sure, right? That would be like, you've done what? 4 a.m. for the football, yeah. Hour difference between us, right? What else have we got going on here? 10 o'clock for the match in the UK. I've jumped ahead there. 10 o'clock, yeah, I saw that. The Sky Sports app is deceiving because it is adjusted for the time here in Malaysia, but it hasn't picked up the difference of a day. That's what happened when I woke up for the Scotland game, and I realised it was actually the next day. Ambivert, most common term, someone who has both introverted and extroverted tendencies. I would always have said I was on the extrovert side of things. And I don't know whether it's an age thing, right? But, you know, like Jesse was saying last night, oh, I'm going to go meet some mates, come along and hang out, meet the mates. And I was like, nah, I'm not. I'm like, my pal roster is full up. It's currently 0, and I'm not auditioning for like empty spaces for new pals to come in. I'm quite happy with the one pal, and that's Yvonne, wife, pal, everything else that comes along with it. I don't need others. Jesse barely makes the cut. Quiet quitting. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. If you've got the opportunity and you work from home, or you're kind of out and about, like my job was always like field sales or working from home for a number of years, and you can kind of do other things at the same time. The quiet quitting is a great strategy for all of that. You know, productivity levels, you just take the foot off the gas a little bit, or start mentoring people within the team that are looking to kind of like build their career, that are still excited about a career. You know, the youngsters in the teams, the 30-somethings, the 20-somethings, you know, you work with them. Craig, it's always a pleasure watching you both. Thanks very much, mate. We appreciate that. Adele, hello guys, how you doing? Nice to see you both. Adele gets a capital A, Stephen gets a lowercase s. That says everything about your mental process there, Adele. I hope these are well. What else? Alan. Hey, John, good to see you. I'm guessing did the person who called me John without the H, have they left now? Somebody did that the other week there. They came in, wrote John, Jon, and I called it out, and then I never heard from the person again. That's why my subscriber numbers are going down, because I criticise people for calling me Jon. I hope that person's still here. It's just banter. Anyway, Alan, hello, mate. How you doing? Well into your journey. Is there any going back? And is this locked in a long-term plan? Who knows? Who knows? It only ever lasts as long as the money lasts. And then I'm going to say my favourite phrase that I say on a Saturday. See, this week I'll make a video recapping the money and talk a little bit about my earnings and stuff. So far, touch wood, the money's going in the right direction. So this all lasts as long as the money lasts. But I think I'll speak on behalf of Yvonne and I. We don't really miss the UK life at this point. We're just enjoying floating around. And we don't really have longer term plans. Just enjoying kind of getting on with things, right? It's just like days tick by. I enjoy the relaxation. I enjoy the kind of de-stress of not being in a career. But it doesn't mean you live stress-free. And the side hustles are doing what they're doing. I would say this much, the YouTube stuff has been all over the place. But that was why I built Patreon, because that helps supplement a little bit of my income, means I can make some additional content for it. And I've got a great crew, a great following over there, 130 people, part of it. So all of that's helping to tick along on things. So I don't know if that's enough of an answer for you, Alan. Don't have any plans to go back to the UK. The money's lasting all right. Side hustles keep me busy, and we enjoy just drifting around doing the things that we're doing. You are a hard man to please, always, without a doubt. I already know that. Yvonne knows that. Quiet quitting, now quiet about you, John. Well, as a good friend of mine, you're well aware of what those end periods were like between British Gas, when I was streaming on Twitch, and then moving into that last job with Is the Germans, how difficult all that period was. So we shall see. Surrey case, any plans for the Philippines? Yep. Philippines, maybe Cambodia, maybe definitely Vietnam. Like, the good part with all of this is, like, you've got time, right? You don't need to rush into anything. You just decide when you want to move around. Like, when we went to Bali, there was actually zero plans to go to Bali. We were supposed to go to Vietnam, and then at the very last minute, we were like, let's just go to Bali because it was cheaper. We ended up in Bali and we loved it. I really enjoyed my time in Bali, so we'll definitely go back. Does Malaysia feel like a little bit of a home at this point? Do you know what, Andrew? It does exactly what we wanted it to do, which was become a bit of a base. Like 90 days we can spend here on a tourist visa. We like floating around. We're familiar with like the shopping malls and the culture, and people are super friendly. It's cheap, so it kind of does all the things that we need it to for now. So yeah, I mean, but when we leave here for Spain in August, it'll probably be a while before we come back. And by a while, I mean, probably the rest of this year. We're unlikely to be back, but it's been great as a base. That's exactly when we first got here, the very first video I made when I unveiled that we'd arrived in Malaysia, people were like, why have you gone there? And the 90-day visa, the ease of getting in and out of like the travel to fly to Thailand and Bali and those kind of locations, it just made perfect sense. And that is exactly what it's been like for us. Oh, you know me too well. I'm in charge. Never questioned it. Never questioned it. I couldn't quiet quit. I'd be moaning too much about work. Yep. I mean, yep. You and me too. Yes, ambivert was the right answer. I, like you, had a career in sales, so I could put on a performance when I needed. Do you know, that's what I would say about it. I don't miss the kind of mental effort that it takes to put that mask on when you're like in sales, the presenting, the kind of customer management, the sales pitch stuff, and then also just internally. You know, like when you work in sales, right, you're always kind of building relationships with all those different departments, the marketing department, the finance department, the warehouse or the distribution team, the product team. You're always kind of having to turn it on with a different department. I don't think people really recognize how much of the mental rent that role comes with when it comes to all of those departments. People who work in sales know it. People that work in other departments, I think it's very much different. Like if you worked in product, you're just there to build that product or create that product or build that platform or whatever, and you don't have to service all of these other areas. There's less involvement with like the finance team, for example. So yeah, that's why I found that job like quite mentally taxing, and I didn't really think about it. And now that I'm out of it, I'm like, oh, I don't miss it. I don't miss it. Yeah, English John definitely handled it well. Yeah. Do you think jobs have a shelf life, or do they run their course? Yes, 100%. When I first moved into doing field sales, right, actually being like an account manager and traveling, I met a guy called Richard who he worked at a business, I worked at a business, and we would sometimes go to visit customers together. I really remember where he said to me at one point, sales jobs have like a 3-year cycle. And that really stuck with me. And that 3-year cycle was year one, you would come into the company, you'd be full of all the excitement of like learning the products, learning the teams, wanting to deliver, wanting to be like, you know, show that they had made the right decision on hiring you, year one. Year two, if you're good at the job, you're living it now. You're showing, you're delivering on your numbers, and it becomes like second nature to you. And then year three, you're bored out of your mind. Like the excitement is gone from it. The products haven't moved around and you're looking at your next thing. That was always the sales cycle for me. Now, I ended up going more like 4 or 5 years. And unless the company gave you something to keep you excited, the last job I was in, I was kind of progressing to like building my own team. So there was enough excitement to just about avoid the 3-year cycle, but it lived in my head about that window. And you're always like, you know, you start to think about where are you going to earn more money? Where's the next big bonus coming from? You get bored of it. Like in sales, you would get bored of the products if there wasn't a new life cycle coming through, because you go from being like, when a new product comes along, there's like the cycle that goes into it, right? There's the prep work of pitching it in, then there's the launch of the product, then there's the initial kind of like in market, and then normally there'd be like the clear out phase. And if that doesn't happen like that, you just become an order taker. You just become like writing out POs and getting bored of it. So yes, I very much think jobs have a life cycle. And now, I mean, I can only talk about it from like a sales perspective, right? But itchy feet and boredom would kick in for sure. Andrew, a mix of Malaysia and Spain are my two choices for retirement. We had kind of worked out a little route around kind of Southeast Asia and Europe, which was a kind of nice way to kind of always be avoiding winter in it. And I mean, winter being like rainy season out here. But we were thinking about going from Spain to maybe like something like Georgia for maybe a few weeks before we leave from Georgia. Yvonne, because old habits die hard, had started looking at going to Ibiza. I mean, I'll say it again. I'm nearly 50. And Yvonne's like, we could go for a wee, we could go clubbing in Ibiza. And I'm like, South Korea also has 90 days. I did not know that. Thanks for letting me know that. I actually don't really know much about South Korea. I don't know what the weather is. I don't know anything. I'd need to have a little look at it. Got to go. No worries. All the best to you, mate. Have a great day for the rest of your weekend. Where is Bondi? Hello, Bondi. How you doing, mate? Do you think Spain will be as cheap as Asia? I doubt it. But we're doing a house sit. So that's going to keep the cost down a little bit. I'll say this much, the flight has cost about £700. So for what we'll save in accommodation, we will spend on transfer costs, and that's just the flight in. But we're kind of balancing that off by being able to see friends when we get there and spend a bit of time, and we'll hopefully catch up with some people that will come on holiday with us. So that the social friendly interaction of old pals will be worth the offset of the cost that it takes to get there. Unless Yvonne gets his book to go to Ibiza and VIP lounges and all that, which would just be like insanity. But you never know. Club 50, why not? Yeah, definitely not. I've had 2 jobs that lasted 6 years and 8.5 years. My first job, Halfords, was like 4 years, and then I worked at Scottish Power, and I worked there for like 16 years. Multiple positions that kind of kept me engaged with it all, but it was too long at one company, because when I eventually left Scottish Power and went to the next job, it was very hard to get the job because they thought I was institutionalized, having spent 16 years at Scottish Power. So I really would advise not staying at companies long term, because they know you're not going to leave, so you don't get the salary benefits out of leaving. You know, like when I moved job companies, that's when the salary really went up significantly. But when I was still at Scottish Power, I was going up like, congratulations, the union has negotiated a 1.5 salary increase for this year, 1.5%. You'd be like, woo! But when you leave and join other companies, that's when the money really moves for you. So I would never, like, if I was going back to a career, I would never spend, it would be madness to commit to like 10 years. However, let me also caveat that and say the older you get, the less likely you want to move companies, right? Because nobody wants to be starting at a new job when you're like 55 and then having to learn everything again. Who can be bothered with that? I've got a good pal of mine, she's out in Canada. She's been moving around jobs, and I'm like, oh, how could you be bothered with the mental rent of all of that? Too much effort, too much effort. Ah, dear. Right, that's probably a good Saturday coffee catch-up, eh? That's probably a good time to dial that in. An hour and 15 minutes. My coffee's gone cold. And the restaurant for Thai food is calling me. Tomorrow's video will be the cost of living for June, that post. And in the meantime, I wish you all a great rest of your Saturday, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you in the next one. And thank you all so much for following the channel and following our videos. Again, just to say thanks to you all. Have a great rest of your day. We shall say we love you and leave you. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, folks.